When opening a package of spaghetti, use scissors to cut it along the length of the package. Take out the amount needed and now carefully fold the package up and wrap it with a rubber band. Now our spaghetti won't fall out. To cook spaghetti in a small pot, twist it slightly in a spiral shape and place upright into solid boiling water. Fan out the spaghetti and it will gradually sink into the water as it boils, and it will not stick together during cooking. If it's not possible to open a jar by twisting, gently tap the lid on the edge of the table. Now it should open easily. Today we're going to cook pasta with tomatoes. To give it a nice garlic flavor, we'll do this. Start by heating olive oil in a frying pan. Before the pan gets hot, add in a couple of crushed garlic cloves. The garlic will heat up with the oil and give it its flavor. When the garlic becomes fragrant and soft, remove the pieces of garlic. Next, we'll cook finely chopped onion until they're soft and translucent. Now we'll add whole peeled tomatoes into the pan. We've already shown how to preserve tomatoes for the winter. Continue to cook the tomatoes on medium heat for 5-7 minutes. Crush up the tomatoes a bit using a wooden spoon. Add in fresh basil leaves and then we'll add in spaghetti that's been cooked al dente. We didn't have any tongs on hand, so we can take 2 forks and connect them with a rubber band. This will make a great substitute. Add the pasta to the pan with 2-3 tablespoons of water from the pot of spaghetti. Let everything cook together for a couple of minutes. Immediately serve it to the table. We can serve with the tongs that we made earlier. Grate some cheese over the top. Our pasta came out tasting delicious, and it was quick and easy to make. To remove calcium from the bottom of the tea kettle, pour citric acid powder into the kettle. Fill with water and boil. After the water has come to a boil and kettle has turned off, let's stand for 5-10 minutes. We can change the water a couple more times to remove any calcium that is still stuck. Simply pour out the old water and repeat the process a few more times. To preserve ginger in the fridge for as long as possible, wrap it in a piece of paper. We want to keep the ginger dry. Now put it in a Ziploc bag, seal it tightly, and store in the fridge, in the fruit and vegetables compartment for up to 3 weeks. We can also freeze ginger. First, peel the ginger. It's very easy to do this using a teaspoon. Cut into thin slices. Lay the slices out on a tray and freeze slightly, then put them into a Ziploc bag. These thin slices are very easy and convenient to use. We can also add them to tea or cut into stripes if necessary. We can also rub the peeled ginger using a fine grater and add the grated ginger into a Ziploc bag. Flatten it into a very thin layer and freeze. When necessary, simply break off the piece you need and put it back in the freezer. Today we're making a very interesting salad. We'll start by cutting raw beets and carrots into cubes. Sprinkle with salt and then coat with vegetable oil. Place the veggies in the oven and bake at 180 degrees Celsius for about 20 minutes. The vegetables should remain a little bit firm. Next, we're preparing herring. We'll start by removing the insides. If there is a roe, we can use it in the future. Remove the head and peel off the skin. In the middle of the tail, we'll make a small incision and then pull it apart in opposite directions. This is a very convenient way to prepare herring, especially for salad. All of the bones from the bottom half are completely removed. Now we'll separate the remaining meat from the bones, slice the herring into small pieces. For salad dressing, start with aromatic sunflower oil. Add apple cider vinegar, whole grain mustard, and 1 minced garlic clove. Mix everything well. Our baked carrots and beets are already ready. Add sugar-free canned peas, pickles, onions, and lettuce. Here we are using iceberg lettuce. Add in the dressing and mix everything together. Next, we'll take canned or boiled white beans and mash them together with finely chopped green onions. Instead of beans, we can also use potatoes. We'll now plate the salad in layers. The first layer will be the beans with green onions. Tamp it down well. Then add pieces of herring on top. Lastly, we'll place a thick layer of our bright and aromatic salad on top of the herring. Our salad is served. In order for our cast iron skillets to serve us well for a long time, we must always follow a few very simple rules. First, we cannot leave cooked food in skillet. Immediately transfer any food to another dish. Fill the pan with water and boil on high heat a few minutes. Do not leave the water in the skillet for extended periods of time. There is also no need to use any cleaning and detergents for cast iron pans. After boiling for a few minutes, scrub the skillet with a plastic or metal brush under the hot running water. We are not using cold water here, so that there is no temperature difference. Return the pan to the heat and dry thoroughly. While it is still warm, pour in a few drops of vegetable oil to coat the pan, and the excess can be removed with a napkin. That's it. In a small jar or container, fill it with room temperature water. Add a tablespoon of sugar and a tablespoon of vinegar. Mix everything well until the sugar is completely dissolved. Now we can use this to help liven up slightly wilted herbs. Here we will make a fresh cut on the ends of our parsley and dill stalks. Place the stalks in the jar for 1.5 to 2 hours. The difference is quite clear, our herbs have come to life. Now we can stir them as usual. To clean out all the grinds from our coffee grinder, add in pieces of soft bread and grind for a few seconds. Shake out the dirty crumbs and repeat the procedure one more time. Lastly, wipe the coffee grinder with a napkin. A whole squash can easily be stored perfectly well all winter, even at room temperature. However, as soon as the squash is cut open, it needs to be used immediately, otherwise it will go bad. Or we can still extend its shelf life a bit. Cut the squash open and immediately clean out all of the seeds. Remove any excess moisture by blotting with a napkin. From here, we'll lie the squash down to let the flesh dry out a bit. As soon as the flesh is completely dry, wrap the squash with foil and store it in the fridge or the cellar. And perhaps using a piece of this squash, we can make a dessert. This dessert calls for freshly squeezed orange juice. To make it easier to squeeze the oranges, roll the oranges on the table like so. Once they are a little softer, cut them in half and squeeze out the orange juice. Next, cut the peeled squash into cubes. Add them to a saucepan and pour in about half of the orange juice. Cook the squash until soft and tender on low heat. Cover it with a lid. We'll then use an immersion blender to blend it to soft, smooth puree. Coat the inside of a small bowl with a little bit of vegetable oil, then measure out the appropriate amount of honey into the bowl. Now when we are ready to use the honey, all of the honey will come out cleanly due to the vegetable oil. Let's continue. Add gelatin into the remaining orange juice and milk. Then mix. Pour the milk into a bowl coated cheese. We'll also add some honey and a pinch of vanilla. Use a mixer to mix until smooth. Next, pour the orange juice into the squash puree. We'll add vanilla and honey here too. Mix using an immersion blender until smooth. We will let our dessert form to this large silicone mold. Desserts with gelatin very often stick to the sides of this mold. We can use vegetable oil to prevent this. Coat the entire inner surface of the silicone mold with vegetable oil. Remove any excess oil with a napkin. I have already shown how using the bottom of a plastic bowl, we can pour a zebra cupcake batter into this mold. In the same way, you can pour any 2 or 3 color gelatin dessert. Alternating between the squash puree and the milk, pour over the center of the plastic bottle. The liquid is already starting to thicken. The milk will tend to sink lower, since milk is heavier. Nonetheless, it will still be an interesting design. Set the mold in the fridge for at least 3-4 hours, or until it completely solidifies. Now our orange dream gelatin dessert has perfectly thickened up. Carefully push away the edges of the mold so that our dessert comes out in one piece. Place the serving dish on top of our mold upside down and carefully turn it over. Continue to slowly remove the silicone mold. Beautiful! We can now enjoy our delicate, aromatic and delicious dessert. Bright and very appetizing. If you're not a fan of squash, you won't even notice it. We can use the oranges that we squeezed from earlier to help us perfectly clean the microwave. Place the peels in the microwave and turn it on at highest power for 3 minutes. Now we can easily wipe clean the inside of the microwave using just an ordinary sponge soaked in water. We've recently bought a mango. The smell is very sweet, fragrant and ripe, but it's still not quite soft enough. This mango is quite hard, We can put the mango in a paper bag and then cover it with rice. You can use any grain you'd like here, it doesn't have to be rice. Close the package and let's sit at room temperature for about 24 hours. Now our mango has become noticeably softer. We can now wash and cut it. We'll cut a beautiful design into the mango to show how soft, ripe and juicy it is. We can create a beautiful fruit platter by using a cake dish. Simply turn it upside down for a two-tiered stand. We can fill it with an assortment of berries and fruits, sliced and placed according to our desire and preference.